According to the Reality Track Incorporated, mortgages in foreclosure rose some 62% in the month of April. That translates to nearly 150,000 foreclosures last month alone. California and Florida led the way. And the fallout is much more far-reaching than just for the homeowners. Industry experts are now pointing out that foreclosed, boarded-up homes bring down communities at large and also bring in criminals. To try and prevent this from happening, homeowners in a mortgage mess are looking to the government now for some help. One example was Massachusetts, where foreclosures there are up some 80% this year. And in response, Governor Deval Patrick made a landmark move by calling a 60-day moratorium on foreclosures. CNA's correspondent Charlene Love sat down with the man who convinced the governor to do it.
It was a sea of yellow shirts demanding stop the loan sharks that engulfed the Massachusetts State House in late April. Led by Bruce Marks, CEO of the Neighborhood Assistance Corporation of America, the group was there to bring attention to the foreclosure crisis caused by so-called predatory lenders.
When one person loses their home, that affects their neighbor, that affects their community, that affects the state.
Emotions ran high as the Massachusetts homeowners told their stories.
I have a good job. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
Ramona Bowen worries that she and her 5 children will have no place to live.
Chase is trying to foreclose on my home tomorrow while I stand here fighting to keep a roof over my children's head.
Terminal cancer forced Phil McKenzie's wife to quit both of her jobs, leaving her husband unable to cover the 2 rate increases they've incurred from their lender.
My initial mortgage with them, which is around $3,500, give or take, is up over $5,000 now.
In November, due to the overwhelming amount of stress, I suffered 2 heart attacks.
Charlene Dunbar was told she could refinance her home in 6 months with no prepayment penalty.
6 months later, they said that they couldn't refinance me because the prepayment penalty was $17,000, and there was not enough equity in my house to cover that charge.
Marks and the group of protesters wanted Massachusetts Governor Deval Patrick to put a moratorium on foreclosures in the Commonwealth.
He needs to stop the foreclosures, and he needs to bring together all the lenders who we give the right to do business in this state. He's got to bring them together and say, modify the loans of working people for what they can afford.
The following week, Governor Patrick did it. Today, Ramona Bowen's tears are replaced with a smile.
As you can see, I'm not crying today. Today's a new day. I have hope and confidence that, the governor will step up and do what he said he was going to do.
So what does Governor Patrick's moratorium mean for homeowners?
He is going to have his banking commissioner call that lender and saying, stop, you're not foreclosing, you're not doing auctions in my state. And he was very clear. He says, I don't want to do a moratorium on auctions just to put off the day of reckoning. So he has directed his banking commissioner and the housing department to say, you need to work with the homeowners and the lenders to determine an amount that's affordable over the long term.
NACA is a nonprofit organization that offers loans to people who do not have access to affordable credit.
We can refinance people through NACA with no fees, no points, no nothing. And our interest rate is always one product. It's 30-year fixed, and it's always 1% below market. So today's rate is 5.5% fixed for 30 years.
How much of an increase in refinance applications have you seen this year, in 2007?
In the last month, just in the last month, Charlene, we have over 10,000 applications.
For more information on NACA and how to refinance your home, go to NACA.com. For Massachusetts residents who are at risk of foreclosure, file a consumer complaint with the Division of Banks at mass.gov/DOB. For CN8, I'm Charlene Love.
Really points it out. This is a big deal. 80% foreclosures are up in Massachusetts alone, and as we said, a lot of other states are feeling the exact same thing.
As a matter of fact, Dart, according to RealtyTrack.com, the number of foreclosure listings in March of this year is up 47% from last year at the same time. So yeah, it's a dire situation for a lot of people, but it also creates opportunity for some people who are looking to get a deal when buying a home.
Well, we're glad you're looking into it. This is Janice Sapala, our consumer ace, and again, we've been here and talked about this, but this is something that we have to keep going over.
And there are some questions to be asked, Art. If you are looking to buy a home, should you buy one in foreclosure? With cooling housing prices and the subprime mortgage mess, bargain hunters right now are looking more and more at foreclosed properties. For some buyers, it can be a great chance to buy a house at below market value.
At most foreclosure sales, you can probably get about 30 or 40% would be a great deal on a nice below market. Would
30
be
to 40%
less than you know, if it goes to the city municipality, if they sell off the property, the sheriff, pretty much any major city where you know, if you can buy something for 20 to 30% less than market, you can do very well.
And Shirlino also says your best bet if you're looking at foreclosures is check with your local bank and ask for the real estate owned department there. They can help you in your search for a foreclosed property. The banks themselves will oftentimes take ownership of some properties in trouble and then put them up for sale through a realtor. That's known as REO, or real estate owned properties. That's probably the easiest way to do it, but chances are you will not get a great deal because banks usually offer properties at close to market value. Now again, dealing with foreclosures is very complicated and it does entail more risk, so know what you're doing before you ever start. Also, do your homework and check out for liens. Make sure you do a lien search on the property that you're interested in. Run some comps as well to see what other properties in the same area have recently sold for. You want to get it right. You want to buy it right. There are also some good websites on foreclosures. Two good ones are www.foreclosures.com and realtytrack.com.
Well, so much good information there, Janet. You touched on a lot of good points, but let's go back to where you started. And there are two sides to every story. So if for someone who's got the cash and they're looking to buy a home that's in foreclosure, it is a great opportunity to go in and get a home at what would be obviously a great price.
Yeah, better value, certainly.
Better value.
Yes.
Yeah, because obviously, like you mentioned, the bank's got to get their money out of it and everybody's trying to get what they can.
It depends on the situation if the bank owns the property. Now, there is an example of a couple in California who recently actually went to a home that was in foreclosure and talked with the people in the home, who owned the home, and said, look, you know what, we will give you money for your house. It'll be under market value, but it will be more than what you owe.
And that's the other side of the coin here, the other side of the story, because for the homeowner who's facing the threat of losing their home to foreclosure, this might be a way of at least cutting some of their losses.
That's right. As a matter of fact, for this particular couple, they said yes. The house was appraised at $830,000.
Oh, it's a big home.
This couple who bought the house bought it for $660,000. They got a deal, but the couple who sold the house was able to pay off the loan, and in this case, which is pretty rare, they walked away with over $300,000.
Yeah, that is rare.
They were
but again,
really lucky.
And again, that's the marketplace in California,
Right.
which we know the prices in California are very, very expensive. But along this northeast corridor of the United States, which is where we are, which is where our viewers are, property values around here are very expensive too. And you did the report on the $217,000 mortgage, which was the median market
price,
right now.
Right, yeah.
And so again, for someone who's in jeopardy of losing that mortgage, getting what they can out of it, you got to do what you can, right?
That's right. It depends on what kind of situation you're in. And if you can, get out of it and not be in a situation where you owe money, then obviously that's your best bet. You don't want to be in a situation like that in the first place. But of course, we've talked about the subprime mess. A lot of people got in some really hot water with that and then found that, whoa, all of a sudden the adjustable went up much too high, much too quickly, and they're in trouble and they can't afford it.
And we don't want to scare our viewers here, Janet. And we've gotten phone calls and emails from people when we do these stories and they say, gosh, I'm trying to sell a house right now and you guys are killing the marketplace. And we're not intending to do that,
no.
But we do have to put the facts out there. And again, let me just point out by saying that Fed Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke has said that, look, this is going to pass, that this market will rebound, it's not going to kill the economy, and that these homes will begin to move once again.
This too shall pass.
Got to ride it out.
Yeah, it's a question of when.
Yeah, it's a question of when.
Hopefully sooner than later.
All right, Janet, thank you very much. Good information, a lot of really good information, and those websites that you had up as well.